Yes guys, welcome to a brand new live stream. My name is Conan and today we're going to be talking about something that I haven't personally really talked openly much about, apart from the people that I'm with in person, but I haven't really discussed this much online to you guys. And I would definitely say that this has been one of, if not the most pivotal things that I've done for myself personally that has allowed me to level up and succeed in life in general, not just for my fitness, but for my business, for my mental health, for my relationships. Literally everything literally came down to this. So I'm going to talk to you guys exactly what that is, but before I do feel like I should give you guys a bit of a backstory. So for those of you who do not know, so for those of you new here, my name is Conan, obviously. But I grew up in the Netherlands. So I was born in the Netherlands, which is a small little country in Europe. And I grew up as a really, for lack of a better term, fat kid, chubby kid growing up. So right from the get-go, I always just really felt the need to fit in because I wasn't like most of my friends, right? Most of my friends were super active, they were skinny, they were slim, they looked good, they felt comfortable with their shirt off, but that was not me up until the age of maybe like when I was in my late teens. But yeah, for the majority of my life, or at least from my childhood up until my teenage years, I always felt really insecure about myself, simply due to the way I looked, right? So that was one thing growing up in the Netherlands where I was just chubby. I had a hard time fitting in with my peers, I guess, in school, during soccer practice. I played soccer all my life, but I wasn't like the most athletic kid growing up. I grew up being a goalie because I was like the biggest, chubbiest kid, so I could like fill the net, obviously. And of course I didn't take too much of it, but yeah, a lot of people kind of made fun of me for that, right? It's like, oh, you're the bigger kid, like you go in goal, you go in nets, you be the goalie, right? Because you're the bigger kid. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Actually, quite funnily enough, I was actually a really good goalie, which is quite funny. But yeah, did that for most of my childhood years. Never really was able to like fit in fully, especially when summer came around, summer vacations. Just always scared to take off my shirt. I was always that one kid in the family pictures in my friend group who would always leave their shirt on, right? Because I just didn't feel comfortable with my shirt off, right? And then at the age of 11, my family and I moved to Canada. So my parents have traveled a bunch and they decided, oh, let's move to Canada. My dad's American, my mom's German. They met in Australia. My brother was born in London, so they've traveled a bunch until they decided our next chapter is going to be moving to Canada. That is, don't ask me why, but yeah, they did that. And then this was a huge culture shock to me. Now, despite me knowing how to speak English, because my dad is American, I always spoke English with him growing up as a kid, but it was a complete culture shock, right? It's like brand new country, brand new culture, brand new like everything, right? Even like the way they do schooling in Canada compared to Europe, the way they like everything was just completely different. And so me being like this chubby kid who was constantly trying to fit in, now imagine myself completely moving to a brand new country, brand new language, brand new everything. Like you could imagine how difficult that was for me to like really try to fit in then, right? Like I was still this chubby kid, and honestly it made matters even worse because for those of you who haven't seen the difference between European culture and specifically the European food versus North American food, it is a huge 9-day difference. I would say the food you find in Europe tends to be a lot healthier, a lot cleaner, and you just don't have access to as many junk processed foods compared to North America, specifically Canada and the United States, especially the United States, right? I remember the first time I moved to Canada, we went grocery shopping. I think we went to Walmart, and Walmart was like this brand new thing to me. I've never been to a store that big in my life before, and they obviously had the grocery aisle, and I just remember as a kid, 11 years old, just moving to Canada, just browsing up and down the cereal aisle, the snack aisle, the cookie aisle, and it literally felt like I was in heaven, basically, because I literally saw all these foods growing up as a kid watching the American movies, right? Like watching Drake and Josh, watching the classic Christmas movies, and they always had like these foods that we never had access to in the Netherlands. And so when I first moved to Canada and I actually saw them in real life in person, I was like, oh my goodness. And I literally begged my parents like, oh, can we get the Chips Ahoy cookies? Can we get these pizza pops? Can we get this frozen pizza? Can we get this really cool cereal? They had like cookie cereal, they had like Oreo cereal, like all these crazy things, Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, all these things that I knew existed, but I just did not have in the Netherlands. And so this made matters even worse when it came to obviously my weight. I gained a lot more weight, I got a lot more chubby, and yeah, as you can tell, that made me a lot more insecure as well. So that made me trying to fit into obviously this new culture a lot more difficult, as you can imagine, right? So that was the first thing I did as soon as we moved to Canada. And yeah, the first couple of years was a bit difficult for me, just understanding the culture, the language, the way school works, all these things, right? But eventually over time, I kind of like learned, and I kind of fit in, right? Like that was my entire, just I guess, goal as a teenager, as a kid, in elementary school, in the first part of high school. I was not really concerned about what I wanted to do or what my beliefs were or what just I liked. I was more so concerned about how can I change myself in order to fit into this group of people, specifically like the cool kids, right? Because as we all grow up, we always want to be part of like a group of people, and specifically like the cool kids, right? Because like it's more of a status thing, right? Like they go to all the parties, they go to all the fun events, and it's like everyone basically wants to be part of that, right? So I literally changed most of who I was internally, right, in order to fit into this group of people. And I did that all throughout elementary school. So I moved when I was in grade 6. So all from grade 6 up until grade 7, I just tried my best to fit in with these people. And then in grade 8, I went to high school. I pretty much did the exact same thing. I remember I went through this phase where I would go to the shopping mall, and I would buy all these crazy clothes. Like I'd go to this really popular store called Zoomies, and they just had all the cool clothes at the time, they had all the cool brands, and I was just like obsessed with getting all the cool clothes. I got all the cool shoes. I wore jeans, and for those of you, like, I hate wearing jeans. I've always, since I was a kid, I hated wearing jeans. Even now I hate wearing jeans, but I forced myself to wear jeans because that's what the cool kids were wearing, right? And I just bought all these weird clothes, and then yeah, just in order for me to like fit into this group of people. And then yeah, it definitely worked. I even changed some of my personality where I definitely did put myself out there a bit more. I did some more silly things in the classroom, right? I did more pranks, I did more challenges, and I definitely got myself outside of my comfort zone, which that in itself was a pretty good thing, I guess, but I just never was myself, right? And then the year after, going into grade 9, I don't know what happened, but I was just like, I am not who I want to be. I remember when I first moved to Canada, I kind of stopped playing soccer, which like soccer was like my biggest thing growing up as a kid in the Netherlands, obviously, because soccer in Europe is huge. And then when I moved to Canada, obviously it's not as big in North America. Basketball, specifically ice hockey, are a lot more popular. So I remember I kind of stopped playing soccer, and then I played more of like these other sports like ice hockey, ball hockey, basketball. And don't get me wrong, I love this. Like I love playing sports, I love being active. But then for some reason, I think in grade 8, in the summer of grade 8, I think I got inspired because this was in 2014, and this is when the World Cup happened in Brazil. And I just remember, like during the summer, every single day, I'd wake up super early due to the time difference, right, to watch all these soccer games, football games, right? And it just got me so inspired to like reignite the spark of like me pursuing my dream of becoming a pro soccer player, essentially, because that was my entire dream growing up as a kid, right? I want to be a pro soccer player. Like this is my passion. I love doing this. But yeah, but like I said, when I moved to Canada, that spark kind of diminished because anyway, if I was playing soccer, I wasn't going to be fitting in with the cool kids, essentially, right? So I kind of stopped playing soccer as much, and I did more of the sports that the cool kids were playing, like ice hockey and basketball, right? But then, yeah, like I said, when I went through this 2014 summer period, I watched all the World Cup games. I just got so inspired. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is what I love. Like this is what I love watching. This is what I love doing, and that reignited that spark for me to kind of be myself again, right? So I kind of stopped playing as much hockey and basketball, and I really like honed in on doing what I actually love doing, which is playing soccer. And I remember after that summer, I went all in on just like trying to become the best athlete possible. So I remember I took my diet a lot seriously then. I took my workouts a lot more seriously then. I played soccer as much as I possibly could before school, a bit during school, during lunch break, and then also after school. I remember like year after year, I just kept on leveling up in terms of they have like different divisions in Canada, but I started at like the Silver League, and then the Gold League, and then the Metro League, and then the HPL League, which is like the provincial league where you play, where you like basically the best team in the province, or I guess the state. In Canada, they do provinces, they don't do states. And I just kept on leveling up, where eventually I had a scholarship to play soccer. And all throughout this time, from grade 8 up until grade 12 onwards, I remembered I just completely got rid of all the people that I was around in order to fit in, the cool kids, right? And I just laser focused on my passion and my goal, which was to play soccer. And during this time, I slowly but surely, without realizing it, kind of like lost most of my quote unquote friends. Or I guess it wasn't really me losing friends, it was just me more so really identifying who my real friends were at the time, right? And so, yeah, as I went into grade 9, I went in all in on soccer, and I noticed that literally all the people that I used to hang out with the year prior, when I was trying to fit in with everyone, none of those people stayed with me, essentially, because I was doing my own thing, they were doing their thing, and because I was so focused on becoming the best athlete possible, it slowly but surely kind of like detracted me from them, right? And now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like an overnight thing, it was more of like a slow burn, but one of the things that I did definitely notice is something called crabs in the bucket. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this before, but essentially what that means is that when you're around a group of people who are just so comfortable with where they're at right now, and they start to see you do more than them in terms of like trying to level up, whether it's career-wise, sport-wise, anything-wise, really, you'll subconsciously notice that your old group of people, your old group of friends, will subconsciously, whether they realize it or not, try to slowly but surely drag you down, right? It's like the analogy of crabs in a bucket, where one crab tries to escape the bucket, but then they get stopped by the other crabs who are trying to pull them down. So it's almost like this vicious cycle where you can't really escape the bucket, because every single crab is trying to like stop you from escaping. And as soon as the other crab tries to escape, the other crab tries to stop them, right? So it's kind of like this vicious circle. And I definitely noticed this. This was the first time when I actually noticed this, where I tried to leave my old group of people in order to pursue something greater than what they had, right? I was maybe a bit more ambitious. I wanted something that they maybe were not able to do or wanting to do, or they viewed as being more difficult, because obviously like playing sports, being more athletic is a lot more difficult than sitting on a couch, eating chips, drinking Red Bull, all these things, right? Which all these things I did as a teenager in order to fit in, right? And so this was the first time I kind of noticed that thing of people don't really want you to succeed, unfortunately. So this was the first time I experienced that. But yeah, slowly but surely, I separated myself from them. And then I just remember all from grade 9 up until grade 12 onwards was very lonely for me. And now this isn't me like being sad for myself or me asking for empathy or sympathy, because I don't care right now, like I'm well beyond that. But I do remember that most of my high school years, from grade 9 up until grade 12 onwards, were very lonely. I never went to a party. Yeah, never really went to a party. I never really hung out with people after school. Never really hung out with people during school either. I remember during like my lunch breaks and recesses, I would just literally, what would I do? I don't think I did much, to be honest. I think, yeah, I started going on runs during lunch break, which a lot of people kind of made fun of me for. I was either running during the lunch break, or I actually, I had a really good relationship with my gym teacher. And I remember like before school, I'd always show up a bit earlier so I could do my morning workouts. And he gave me the keys to the gym, which was insane. I think I was the only person that he would give access to the gym to, because I would hang around the gym so much, and like he trusted me so much. Like, Mr. Murphy, shout out to you, man. But I remember he gave me literally the keys to the upstairs weight room, which literally felt like heaven to me. So I remember, yeah, I went to school a bit earlier to do my morning workout. During lunch break, I went on like this run. And then after school, I'd always go to soccer practice after. So I remember I never really either had time to go to parties or to hang out with people after school. And if I wasn't going to soccer practice after school, I was going to work. So I worked at a farmer's market. I worked there a couple times a week if I wasn't going to soccer practice. So I was like I was grinding. Like, I was busy. I was making money, I was becoming the best athlete I could, and as you can tell by doing all these things, plus studying for school and stuff, trying to get good grades, getting a scholarship to play soccer, I didn't really have a lot of free time, right? And so, yeah, that is why also I probably did not have that much time to be around friends, quote unquote friends, people, right? And so, yeah, for most of my high school years, I was just me on my own, doing my own thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I would still talk to people, of course, like in between classes, during classes and stuff, but like outside of school, like you would not see me anywhere, basically, apart from work, the soccer field, or at home, eating healthy food, basically. And then as soon as I graduated high school, I moved provinces from British Columbia to Edmonton, Alberta, which is the province next to it, because I had a scholarship to play soccer there. So this was the first time I ever moved out. I was 17 years old. I was a super shy kid, and this was a huge kind of thing for me, right? Because I was like, yes, this is the next step for me in order to become a pro soccer player, right? So that got me super excited. And I remember similar kind of things happened because, yeah, in university and college, despite them being college athletes, right, most of them still went out to party. They still wanted to do things, socialize, all these things. But I remember I did not do that. I was just, probably because I was too shy as well. But then also I was just too focused on like, okay, now that I'm here, like I got to make sure that I actually show up and do a good job with my classes, with my soccer practice, with the soccer games as well, right? So same thing as in high school, same thing happened in college basically, where I didn't really have many friends apart from obviously my soccer teammates. I didn't really talk much to them either, to be honest. But yeah, I just remember I would go to the gym in the morning, I'd go to classes during the day, and then after classes were done, we'd go to soccer practice, and then after soccer practice was done, I'd go back home, eat my healthy meals, and then go to bed, and then kind of repeat that for 2 years. The reason why I repeated that for 2 years is because 2 years after is when COVID hit, right? I went to college in 2018, did that for 2 years, COVID hit, 2020, soccer season got canceled, I got sent back home again, back to British Columbia from Edmonton, Alberta, and this was the first time when I kind of felt depressed in a way, because my entire purpose for literally going to school, for moving abroad or moving to a different province, was to play soccer, was so I could pursue my dream of becoming a pro soccer player. But as soon as COVID hit and that kind of got taken away from me, I was left back at home, isolated, obviously during COVID times, doing school online. I was studying economics at the time, which I was definitely not passionate about. I just picked randomly a major. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just pick economics. I had to pick something, obviously. So I picked economics, which I did not really enjoy doing. So now I got left studying economics without playing soccer, on my own, in my bedroom, on my laptop. I'm like, this is horrible. I hate this. And so I managed to kind of do that for 2 years, from 2020 up until 2022. I had a couple part-time jobs at the time. I worked at a gym, I worked at the supplement store, and that's also the time when I really took my social media a bit more seriously. But even during this time, I was still very isolated. I was very alone during that time, right? Because I was just focused on making sure I got good grades, and then on top of that, I was working a bunch, and then I took my social media a bit more seriously. But yeah, my dream of becoming a pro soccer player basically diminished. It stopped, which was unfortunate, but I was definitely a lot more passionate at the time about weightlifting, becoming a personal trainer. I also remember during this time when I was studying online, I also invested into a certified personal training course, and then I got my certificate, and I started coaching people in person. But yeah, I did that for 2 years for school, and then I had, I think, 1 or 2 years left before I could actually graduate school. And I just remember waking up one morning, this was in 2022, and I logged into my portal, right? I logged into my classes like I do every single morning. And I noticed, this was the winter semester of 2022, that I got kicked out of all of my classes. I'm like, what the heck? This is so weird. What is going on? So I did a bit more research, and I noticed that in order for you to continue on participating in school, you needed to show proof of vaccination. So back in Canada at the time, they were really big and really stern on the vaccination, right? Like you needed to show vax in order to literally do anything, in order to go to the gym, in order to go to a restaurant, in order to like literally socialize, go to events. Like you needed to show like proof of like a pass to literally live life essentially, which was crazy at the time, and it divided a lot of people. And yeah, I did not have proof, because I didn't get a jab back then. Yeah, that's kind of stopped me from doing classes, which was really weird. And so I kind of took that as like, okay, this is really weird. What do I do now? And my dream, or my second dream at the time, was to basically move to the United States and move to Texas, because in Texas was this really big gym called Alpha Land, which is like this really niche like fitness influencer type of gym. And like I said, I was making content at the time. I was making YouTube videos, I was vlogging, I was making TikToks, Instagram reels, pictures, all these things. And my dream was to visit the Alpha Land gym, because I was a huge fan of Christian Guzman, right? Growing up, I just watched all his YouTube videos, I watched all his vlogs, and I kind of took this as an opportunity to say, okay, this sucks. I got kicked out of all my classes. It was honestly a blessing in disguise, because I honestly did not want to continue on with school. I just kind of did it because I thought my parents wanted me to do it. But yeah, I kind of like used that as a blessing in disguise. I'm like, okay, I got kicked out of all my classes. I really want to pursue this whole fitness influencer, personal trainer, online coach thing. And I knew in Canada, where I was at the time, the opportunity, sure, it was there, but there was just no one else really doing it. And I knew that in Houston, Texas, it was like this hub of fitness people doing similar things, doing all these things. And so I kind of took that as an opportunity for me to take the plunge and buy a car. Literally spent all of my savings from working during high school at the farmer's market and working at the supplement store and gym. Literally used all that money, all my savings, to buy a car, to literally drive across the border all the way down to Texas, from Vancouver, Canada, all the way down to Texas. It was a total of 40 hours, made this big road trip out of it, stayed in LA for a bit, and then went down to Arizona, New Mexico. It was like a 2-week trip, but yeah, 40 hours total. I did that, and I put myself in an environment that really allowed me to pursue my dream and to really do that. And now, as you guys can tell, all throughout this entire journey, I was very lonely. I was very, very alone, right? Trying to navigate through life, trying to become a pro soccer player, but then when COVID hit, that got taken away from me. And then my goals kind of shifted from becoming a pro athlete to now wanting to become a personal trainer, an online fitness coach, a fitness influencer, making better content, all these things. And I was really lonely during this time, because no one else was really doing what I was doing back then in Canada. And yeah, I just decided that I would rather be on my own and try to do this on my own, rather than almost like giving up my goal and giving up my dream in order to fit in with the other people, right? So I moved to Houston in 2022, and similar thing here, I still felt a bit alone, because it was kind of like this lonely middle ground, which I want to explain to you here, right? It's kind of like this in-between phase where you don't fit in with your old friends anymore, right? The ones that I left in Canada. But then here's the weird thing, here's the funny thing, but at the same time, you're also not good enough yet to surround yourself with the new friends that you want to be with, essentially. So it's like you're way too good to be around your old friends, but then you're not quite good enough in order to be around the people that you actually want to be with, right? So you're kind of stuck in this middle ground, which I like to identify as the lonely chapter. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this before, but it's something that I actually talked about in a podcast with one of my mentors a couple months ago back in Dubai. But it's kind of like this weird middle ground where you're still trying to like identify who you are, right? But that you don't want to go back to your old ways, but you know that you're also not good enough to kind of be around the people that you truly want to be around, right? Because you're simply not the person they want to associate themselves with, essentially. And I know it sounds a bit harsh, it sounds a bit transactional, but that is kind of how I view friendships. But during this time, like, you're still really focused, you're driven, but you're isolated, right? Your weekends get really quiet, and you question if you're doing the right thing. Because don't get me wrong, like, when you're kind of alone all the time, it's like, well, you kind of ask yourself, it's like, is this even worth it? You go on social media, you see other people partying, it's like, ooh, you get this FOMO, you get this fear of missing out, you get all these things, right? But one thing I had to remind myself is that this isolation wasn't punishment. It was simply just preparation, right? Preparation for what's to come. And now during this phase, you'll start to hear your own thoughts. But you also build discipline, you work on your craft, and you realize that you don't need to be liked, you just need to be respected. And so, yeah, this was kind of like this weird like middle ground where I had to like really identify what I wanted to do and who I wanted to associate myself with. But yeah, this was one of the best things that I done for myself, because I literally left my environment in Canada and I forced myself to go in this environment in Texas now, where I was literally surrounded by other people who were doing the things that I wanted to do, right? They were all online fitness coaches. They were all making content. They were all just doing things that I wanted to do, right? And I met some incredible people. And then as I kind of like surrounded myself more and more with these people, I started to like level up. I started to invest into myself. I started to learn. I started to make more mistakes, but I learned from those mistakes, right? All these things. And then before you know it, you start to like develop this, almost like this group of people who are now kind of like aligned with your goals and your visions. And I'm just so happy that I kind of went through that lonely chapter in order to identify who I truly wanted to become. And then now that I really know who I am in terms of like my values, my beliefs, my just like everything, my personality, everything, I can now attract the type of people who truly like me for who I am, as opposed to me pretending to be someone who I'm really not in order to fit in with a group of people, if that makes sense. Like I said, going back to the start of this live stream, all from the age of 0 up until the age of like 14, 15, my entire purpose or my entire job was just to try to fit in with the group of people who I thought were cool. But then as soon as I made that shift towards really prioritizing myself and prioritizing my own goals, I noticed right away that I lost all those people, I lost all those friends, and it was a sacrifice that I had to make in order to truly identify who I was as a person, and in order for me to actually achieve my goals. Because ultimately what it comes down to is, if your friends do not support your goals, your goal should be to find new friends. I'm a huge believer on that. I know it sounds really transactional, but I would hate to look back on my life and say the reason I did not accomplish my goal was because of my friends, quote unquote friends, Jerry, or because of Tom, or because of Tim. And if you say it out loud like that, it sounds really stupid and moronic, right? It's like, the reason I did not fulfill my potential, the reason I did not reach my goal, was because I let these group of people hold me back. And you're basically casting blame onto other people, and that's not fair to them either, like 100%. Like, it is your job, it is your duty as a human being, as just whoever you are and want to be, to align your incentives and to almost design your life and design your environment to help you reach those goals as easy as possible, right? Because by you putting yourself in an environment where people do not want to see you succeed, people don't want you to get better, you're just making it 10 times harder on yourself to actually reach your goals. And so that is why I had to, first of all, get rid of all those people, first of all, right? Second of all, go through the lonely chapter where I could actually identify what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. Once I identified that, work ruthlessly towards that. And then as you work towards it, you'll know exactly who you are as a person. And then once you actually feel confident and comfortable in who you are, you can actually start to attract the right type of people. You can, one of these things where it's like your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So by you being yourself, by me being myself, I attract the people who truly like me for who I am as a person, as opposed to me putting on a show for other people in order for me to fit in with those people, right? And so this leads me to being selfish, but being selfish the right way. Society demonizes being selfish, right? A lot of people say like, oh, don't be selfish whenever you get rid of a group of people in order to pursue your own goals, right? But I think it's actually really selfless. And I'll explain to you why. Because when you're building something, you have to be selfish. Like, there's no other way around it. Selfish means protecting your focus, energy, and your goals. And if someone isn't adding to your purpose, they should be subtracted from it. I remember I was in this relationship with someone, and I like the idea of being in a relationship, right? Like like as human beings, like we want that. But I noticed that their goals were not aligned with my goals, and we just had different incentives where I had my own goals, they had their own goals, and it just kind of like, it got messy. It got really, really messy. And I ultimately had to make the decision of, would I rather sacrifice my goals in order to be with this person, or would I rather sacrifice being with this person in order for me to get to my goal? And this sounds horrible, but I think every man, especially guy, needs to focus on their purpose and needs to be aligned with their purpose. And if that means getting rid of people, whether it's friends, partners, relationships, then so be it. Because I guarantee you this, like, and I just from personal experience, I feel so much better waking up every single morning with purpose, with a mission, being driven, chasing after my goals, chasing after my purpose, chasing after my mission, than I did being with someone who sure made me feel good at times, right? Like, it's comforting, it's all these things, but it was simply detracting me from actually achieving my goals. And yeah, this is something that you're gonna have to make a decision for yourself, but I was willing to make that decision and I do not regret it one single bit. You guys have probably heard this before, but you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So make sure they lift you up and not weigh you down. It's such a cliche and people say it all the time, but a lot of people don't realize it, right? It's like putting this into the fitness perspective. If you want 6-pack abs, if you want to be fit, why are you surrounded by people who smoke alcohol, drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, go out to party, eat junk food every weekend? Like, it sounds like a no-brainer. Like, of course, like, if you want to be fit, you should be around people who are fit, who exercise, who work out, who encourage you to work out, who encourage you to run, who push you, who challenge you, who eat healthy, who, instead of every weekend, ask you to go out to party and spend hundreds of dollars on alcohol and booze, instead ask you, like, hey, let's wake up at 6 a.m. and let's go on a run. Let's go to this run club. Let's go to the gym. Right? Like, it's a no-brainer. Like, of course you know that. Yet you're still surrounding yourself with losers, people who drag you down, crabs in a bucket. Why? Why are you doing that to yourself? Don't you think your goals are more important than the 5 minutes of pleasure you get by drinking alcohol, by escaping reality? If not, then so be it. But then don't sit there and complain about you not being in the shape you want to be in, or you not making enough money, or you not having the right partner, or whatever you want in life, by making those actions, by taking those actions. Don't be surprised. Like I told you guys, I had to go through the lonely chapter for years, literally years, in order to get to where I am now. It's not easy. It's not fun at times. But is it worth it? Heck yeah. I can look back, right, from years ago and say, well, I am so glad I went through that phase. Because had I not, I'd probably be a fat piece of crap, sitting on a couch, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, drinking alcohol. I don't even know where I'd be, to be honest. I'd definitely be overweight. I'd definitely probably be broke. I probably would not have had the relationships I have now. I probably would not be able to travel the world. I would not be where I am now had I not gone through that lonely chapter. If I kept trying to please other people and changing who I was internally in order to be around these types of people, in order to be cool and fit in, I'd be a loser. Going back to what I said earlier, you become the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So look at your circle right now. Look at the people you spend the most time with. Look at your environment. Is it conducive towards helping you reach your goals, or is it taking you further away from it? If it's taking you further away from it, and you actually want to accomplish your goals, then I would say be ruthless. Get rid of those people. Change your environment. Move across the city. Move across the country. Move countries. Do something to put yourself in a situation where you are able to reach your goals. I have made plenty of risks in my life. I moved countries from Canada to America. I've moved cities numerous times. I've invested into mentorships. I put myself in uncomfortable situations. I've challenged myself. I've done 2 bodybuilding shows. I ran 3 marathons. I keep on setting new goals for myself. Do I want to? No, not always. Is it challenging? Absolutely. But is it worth it? Heck yeah. Every single freaking time. So if you're not happy with where you're at right now, just assess your environment, assess your relationships, assess your friendships, and ask yourself this question, and take your emotions out of it. Are these people in my life getting me closer to my goals or further away from my goals? And if your goals are important to you, because I know I talk with a lot of people and they tell me that their goals are important to them, but their actions are not aligned with that. And they would so much rather just be with these group of people who would drag them down than actually achieve their goals. And if that is the case for you, that is totally fine. But then once again, do not sit there and complain about you being broke, you not making enough money, you not being in the shape you want to be in, you not having enough energy, you not being confident in yourself, you not being able to travel the world when you want to. Do not blame it on them, because it is you're in control. Things in life will not always be your fault, but at the end of the day, it will always be your responsibility. It is not my fault that it is raining, but it is my responsibility to bring an umbrella when I go on a walk, if I don't want to get wet. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I would just hate for you to resent other people and to sit on your deathbed and say, wow, the reason I didn't get in shape was because of my friend Tom, or the reason I didn't travel the world was because of my partner. Like, you should be selfish. You should 100% be selfish, because if you're not, you're just gonna start to resent other people, and you yourself are not gonna be able to live the life that you want to live. Like, I'm very selfish. I'm probably the most selfish person you'll ever meet, 100%. But it allows me to be selfless, right? Because by me being selfish, I get to work on myself, which allows me to help other people. We've helped hundreds of busy men by now drop body fat, right? And that's all because I was selfish in the starting phase, where I had to be selfish by not going to parties so I could study, so I could learn, so I could educate myself, so I could invest into mentorship, so I could learn. And by me learning, by me making those sacrifices to learn more, I could therefore help more people. Does that really sound selfish now? No, it sounds pretty selfless, actually. You're being selfless, you're being selfish in order to be selfless, in order to help other people. Same thing applies with your family, right? Like, in order for you to show up as a leader, you should probably be selfish and do your workouts and eat healthy. Because if you don't, you're not gonna have enough energy to play with your kids, to play with your partner, to take her out to date nights. If she wants to go travel every single month, if you want to go travel every single month with your family, you should probably make a couple sacrifices and be selfish and maybe work a couple more hours, maybe get a promotion, get a better job, right? Sure, maybe selfish in the moment, but over time, you get to help more people and actually show up as a better leader for your friends and your family. Now, your circle might be 1 or 2 genuine people who push you to grow. You have fewer hangouts, but more meaningful conversations. Right now, I only maybe have 1 or 2 friends that I actually talk to. Not these random people of like, hey, you going out tonight? Like, no, like 1, 2 like genuine friends where we talk every single day. We talk fitness, we talk business, we talk just like everything. But they are so close to me. Like, these are like my ride or dies. These are my partners. And I would so much rather have these 1 or 2 very close connections as opposed to hundreds of like just random people on my phone who just text me every now and then. Like, almost like these shallow friendships. I would rather have 1, 2, 3 max, just like really close people. One of them being my partner, maybe 2 other people being like my ride or dies, right? Like my bros, like no matter what happens, like we are there for each other, right? I would so much rather have this, like a tight-knit group of people who are aligned with my goals, who help me, who push me, who help me grow, who actually get me to my goals a lot quicker and a lot more efficient, and having hundreds of random people who kind of drag me away, get my attention away from my ultimate true purpose in life. So yeah, but that's just me, right? Yeah. If you don't want to be successful, then by all means, have like 100, 200 random people on your phone text you, call you every single day to track you from your goals. But that's just me, right? Now, here's the attraction through evolution. You don't find better people, you attract them by leveling up. If you right now, like for example, if you want to attract a supermodel, look at yourself right now. Like, ask yourself this question: would you date you right now? Would you have sex with yourself right now? Take off your shirt and look at yourself in the mirror. Do you find yourself attractive? Would you kiss yourself? Would you have sex with yourself? Do you make yourself horny if you were someone else, for example, right? Whenever I take off my shirt in the mirror, in the morning, in the afternoon. I look at myself a lot in the mirror. At the gym with the pump, I'm like, heck yeah. I am one sexy, badass mofo. I would definitely have sex with me. Sounds weird, but I would. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and say, wow, like, whoever is with me, like, yeah, they're in luck, right? But if you don't view yourself like that, like, you gotta level yourself up, because how can you expect to be with a supermodel if you are not on that level? Same thing with your friends, right? Like, if you wanna surround yourself with like millionaires, well, in order to be around millionaires, you should probably be a millionaire. Like, why, like from a millionaire's perspective, like, why would a millionaire talk to someone who's broke? Or at least put them in the same circle as them? They wouldn't, right? Same thing with like, yeah, fit people. Like, fit people are really smart in terms of like, they know that they should probably be around fit people, and if they don't, then if they surround themselves with like fat people, for example, it's like they know that's like they have nothing in common either, right? It's like, if I were to surround myself with broke people, with losers who only talk about sports events, they talk about going out every weekend, it's like, and I'll be honest, like, I have nothing in common with them. I'm like, like, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to add to the conversation. Whereas if you put me in a room with like people with like who are entrepreneurs, who are driven, who are into fitness, who are just like driven, it's like, oh, like, we bounce ideas of each other. I'll tell them one thing, they'll tell me another thing. It's like we level each other up, right? So if you want to be around a group of people who are millionaires, you should probably, first of all, focus on trying to provide value to them, but then more importantly, try to become a millionaire yourself, right? If you want to be dating a supermodel, you should probably be a supermodel yourself, or at least be valuable or attractive enough in order to attract a supermodel, right? So you don't find better people, you attract them by leveling up. So stop wishing to be around a group of people and start acting like you belong there, right? And as your habits, mindset, and results improve, you naturally start to meet people who think bigger, right? You get invited into new rooms, masterminds, or friendships. These people see your discipline and not your potential excuses, right? Like, if I see someone who's really driven, like, yeah, like, I love that. I love seeing that. I want to be around that, right? I want to invite them into my circle because they have potential, they're ambitious, and I know I could probably learn something from them, right? The better you become, the better your environment becomes. This is so powerful. This is so powerful, right? And that is why your job is simple. Focus on being your authentic self, stay consistent, and the right people will recognize your energy. One of the biggest hacks is literally leveling yourself up so that you can be around people who are also leveling themselves up, and then together you guys can level up 2x. It's like, that's the biggest hack in life. That is why I'm such a big fan of joining mentorship programs, joining groups, right? Just being in that environment where you're literally forced to grow, and if you don't grow, you get pushed away, you get kicked out, because they don't want you there. They only want winners, right? So here's my closing message. You will lose people, once again, if you're ambitious and actually want to achieve your goals, right? You will lose people. You lost people, you went through a lonely phase, you rebuilt yourself, and now you attract winners. That's what happened to me, and that's what will happen to you if you actually want to go through this route and be successful. It's not going to be fun at times, it's not going to be easy, but it is always going to be worth it. Now, if you want to change your life, you need to change your circle. If you can't find the right circle yet, build it yourself. Now, if you're in that lonely chapter right now, keep on going. It means you're evolving. And if you're tired of being around people who don't get you to your goals, come join the Barbarian squad, our online coaching program. We're building a brotherhood of men who actually want more out of life, right? That's why we're so big on community instead of our online coaching program. So if you need help losing weight and you're sick and tired of being around people who are fat and are crabs in a bucket, who don't want to see you succeed, who keep on dragging you down, book a free consultation call with me down below. We'll essentially go over your goals, we'll go over your current struggles and create a game plan together to help you absolutely crush your goals in the next coming months, while being around people who are just like-minded, just like yourself, who will encourage you and inspire you to push you to become a better version of yourself, including myself, of course. So I'll let you guys go, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.